Hello, my name is Shane, and I am amongst other things, a therapist and addictions counsellor down here in the deep south of New Zealand, and I've been doing this, as I say, amongst other things, for about 30 years. I guess my main goals in life, I'd really like to see people listening to more records. I want you to be wearing more watches, more real watches, and I'd also like you to be happier and healthier in your day-to-day mental health, to live a more fulfilling life. And I think that's some pretty exciting goals, and sets me up for quite a lot to do. Today, I wanted to talk about recovery process and preparing for recovery, preparing for the reality of recovery. What we know about recovery is recovery from addiction has a few stages. You've got the early stage, mid stage, and late stage. And all the time during this period, you're going to be plagued by fears of lapse and relapse. And the reality is that lapse and relapse is an inevitable part of recovery. If we're going to be creating a John or a Joan 2.0, there's no instant sudden fix. I mean, you might be one of those few that can instantly, that's it, you can stop and you can stay stopped. And I applaud you if that's the case. There are some people that I've worked with and it's miraculous. But by and large, most real people, most ordinary, imperfect people do struggle. And if you're going to be creating Joan or John 2.0, we want to get all of the tools in the toolkit that we can. And in the preparation for recovery, I believe that the better understanding you have of what lies around the corner will make you better prepared for dealing with it and avoiding and coming through a stronger you. So it's a tool for the toolkit. So I wanted to, first of all, basically say that, look, if you could have fixed this, you would have fixed this a while ago. Recovery is screwing up less often and less severely, until over time, you're not struggling anymore. You're no longer using substances. It's a week, it's 2 weeks since your last problem, and then it's 6 months since you last drank or used, until eventually you're not doing it anymore. But the reality is, there tends to be pitfalls along the way. And the better prepared you are for those pitfalls, the better you are, first of all, to avoid them, and secondly, to keep them the right size. So it is a pitfall and not a cliff. Have that in your head. There's a significant difference between a lapse and a relapse. Between a lapse and a relapse. Now, a relapse, if we start to examine the concept of what they would call the abstinence violation effect, AVE, abstinence violation effect. It's within the context of a whole bunch of other stuff that occurs perhaps before that. But let's just assume that you've woken up on the Saturday morning with a sore head. Maybe you're stuck to the police cell floor in your own vomit, and it's been a while since this happened, and you think, oh no, what have I done? I haven't had a drink for a month, and here I am. And this is that opportunity to decide whether it is a lapse or whether it is a relapse. Because there's a fundamental difference. A relapse is, I don't like the way that I feel. I don't want to feel like this again. I am not going to keep doing this. In fact, I'm going to use it as learning. Why did I drink last night? It's been a month since I had a drink. Something happened last month. There was something about the way I was feeling. I was angry, lonely, hungry, tired. There are a whole bunch of emotion sets that can go along with the use of a substance that you hadn't planned to do. And that's maybe a story for another video. But here you are, the next morning, you've drunk the night before, and you feel bad the next day. It's an opportunity to learn. That's the way to look at this. The other way of looking at it is, well, that's it, I've blown it. I knew I couldn't stop. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. And we can utilize this opportunity, this incident, as a chance to continue drinking. I knew I couldn't fix it. My friends and family, they were all standing there with their arms crossed, expecting this to happen, and boom, here we are. And that's the mindset between a lapse and a relapse. And as I say, recovery is just fewer lapses and less severe lapses over time. If this was an easy fix, you would have fixed this a long time ago. Some of the behaviors that you've developed over time might take some time to change. So don't beat yourself up. As recovery occurs, there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens, new lifestyle choices, neuroadaptation. If there's any of these things you want me to explain, please leave comments in the video below. If there's anything, other videos you'd like me to make, please do ask me. I'd be delighted to, because as I say, in therapy, these are constant things that I talk about. Constantly, these are the things that, and people find this stuff useful. Because if you're expecting your recovery to have pitfalls, you can prepare for them. And that means preparing your family and your friends for the next mistake, because a lot of them will have written you off by now. They will have said, that's it, last chance, you're on last chance. How many times do we hear that? You're on your last chance. And that pressure is immense, because what that does is drives you away. You'll become more secretive with your behaviors rather than more upfront. Hey, I screwed up last night. I don't want to do it again. Can you help me to not screw up again? Or has anybody seen John? Where has Joan gone? She's disappeared. She's gone again. Oh yeah, we know what that is all about. Yeah. So if you're able to prepare your friends and family and support people to say, guys, I'm in the process of fixing this. And fixing this does means that it's not quite fixed yet. Please, if you love me, if you support me, I'm not intending to go out and use or get drunk. It's not my plan. And this, by me telling you this stuff, it's not a license to go out there, hey, go out and give it a nudge, because that isn't my intention at all. My intention is the opposite. My intention is expect that it might happen and be prepared when it does. The abstinence violation effect, you could apply that to anything. You've done really well on a diet. You've gone 4 weeks without eating carbohydrates. And if you're like me, you'll be able to hear the cheesecake in the fridge. You'll be able to hear it talking to you. And you've done so well on this diet, you've lost 5 kgs. It's fantastic. Everybody's having a piece of cheesecake. Okay, I'm going to just have the one. I'm going to have one piece of cheesecake. Wow, abstinence violation effect. I've blown it. I've suddenly, mysteriously and miraculously put 10 kilograms back on again. 5 kilograms. Haven't done that. All I've had is one slice of cheesecake, but in my head, I've blown it. Where's the cheesecake gone? I've eaten it all. And I will eat whatever else I can find. That is the abstinence violation process. I'm bad, and everything that goes with it. It's like crossing a line sometimes. We might talk about that. And sometimes it might be the use of another substance. You might have stopped smoking, and then you might have a quick puff. Oh, I've blown it. So then the alcohol comes in, or some of the other substances that are associated emotionally, even physically at times, socially with that substance use. So the two, I've blown it. Everything is bad, and you're moving from a state of perhaps clarity, or from a state of purity to one of, that's it, I knew I couldn't fix this, I've blown it. No, all you've done is you've used, you drank, you texted that person, and you kind of know when you text them, they're going to come around and bring something with them. So the ideal thing to do is to go, what do I do to avoid that happening again? If I'm feeling lonely, I might have to text that friend and say, I'm going to take your phone number off my phone. I'm going to have to, because I can't do what I did last night. And if you love me, you'll say that's okay. You'll understand. Give me some months, I'll come back. I promise you I'll come back. Because I want to get better. And that part of our interaction is not part of my recovery. So, give me that. Just allow me that. Doesn't mean to say that I don't love you. I just don't like what we do. And I'm going to have to cut that out for a while. So I'll review. It's a chance to review what you were thinking. Take it to your counselor. Take it to your therapist and say, so, what happened? What were you feeling? What were the behaviors that went on before that, the antecedents that happened that led to that, and it can be complex. As I say, there's at least an hour and a half's worth of video about what goes on with regards to that relapse process, and it's a whole combination of things: willpower, seemingly irrelevant decisions, it's brain state, emotional state, right down to, hey, the brain goes, I'm feeling good, I'm doing well, I don't deserve to feel like this. It's time I tripped myself up and threw myself on the floor again, because that's more comfortable for me. That's how insidious and complicated sometimes these addictions can be. So, just to recap, preparation for preparation for recovery involves understanding that perfection is unlikely, that you're going to want to use, you're going to occasionally use, and that the idea would be that you use less and less often. That's really set that out in your brain about recovery, because if you're expecting perfection, you're probably going to blow it by now. Understand there's a difference between a lapse and a relapse. And a relapse is a mindset, okay? It's a mindset where you're going from, I've blown it. It's the Salvation Army thing, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. And you've got to consider about how useful that is. Medical term, alcoholic, it's not even really well recognized. So, preparing for it, understanding, that means preparing for it emotionally, preparing for it physically, preparing your family and support people for the fact that you might struggle and that you might have issues. Understand that next day is when you go, no, that was a lapse. It's a pothole. It's not a cliff, unless you choose it to be. And then you can say, well, okay, look, it's been 2 weeks. What I want to do now is I want to go 6 weeks before it happens again, until it gets easier, until it extinguishes. Also bear in mind that the longer period that there is between usage, so you might have been a heavy user and you've stopped, and then you use again, you lapse or you relapse, your tolerance will probably have changed. So if you want to go back to using as you were before, in some instances it can be very, very risky. What you'll probably find is you're going to become more stoned or more drunk than you used to on the same amount of alcohol. Be very cautious about that. Overdose can kill, certainly when it comes to opiates and even alcohol. So be very, very cautious. What you're going to get is, because you've got reduced tolerance or no tolerance at all, smaller amounts of the substance are going to have a larger effect. Just what you're looking for. But it also means that impairment comes more quickly, and that includes things like memory loss and disinhibition and all of those things that you're trying to avoid. So please, if you find this kind of video useful, I notice I've gone on now for 13 minutes. If you find this kind of video useful, please leave a comment, ask for some more. It would be really, really great if I could just help 1 or 2 people, direct people that you know to this video. Feel free to do so. And it's lovely to be able to interact on a broader scale. One-on-one counselling is generally what I do, but there are a number of specific interactions that can have enormous use for people that are looking to come into recovery. So please comment, ask me questions, criticisms. I'm a big boy, too big, I can handle it. More Records, Cowboy Junkies, great album. That was really helped to launch, I think. Their career was recorded in a church. It's a beautiful recording. So audiophiles really took to that. So strongly recommend it. Give it a whirl. And on my wrist today is my Breitling Navitimer World. It's a GMT white face. And without my glasses, I can't see the time. It's that useless. It has a sliding dial that I've got no idea what it does, but I love wearing it. And if anybody can tell me where I could get a nice red leather strap, I think it's going to reduce the weight and size of this. It's a chronograph. Then I would like to be able to get that, point me in that direction. Hey, so all the best for your recovery, more music, more real watches, and a better quality life. All the best. Aroha from the deep south of New Zealand. Cheers.